Gentlemen, we are about to go live. Facebook will let me know when we are live. We might already be broadcasting, so just hold on one moment. Okay, we are live on Facebook, and we're just about to bring in all our viewers. Let's go ahead and broadcast through the Zoom meeting. Thank you for those of you tuning in on Zoom. Thank you for those of you tuning in on Facebook Live on the RE/MAX Realtron Facebook page. We have an exciting event for you. As our viewers come in to view, we'll give them a couple minutes. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Good to see you guys.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
I said good to see you guys if we don't spend 4 or 5 hours a day staring at each other on Zoom every day. So,
on Zoom, right.
But that's the reality of the future of real estate. And that's why we're here to discuss what we're doing.
Correct.
So we have a good turnout. Carrie Rosenzweig from our Shepherd office says, good afternoon, men. I guess
that's what we need. We need some ladies. We have to get some ladies.
On the Zoom, for sure. If you guys are here, if you guys have any questions, some of you have submitted questions already. Maybe you're in here already. Thank you to those of you joining us. Thank you to all the RE/MAX Realtron associates who have signed up and gotten involved and invited their clients and friends and family. Thank you to all the members of the public who have reached out and asked questions about the event and are now here. We're nearing 200 people out of the just over 400 that registered. So I think it's fair time to get started and go ahead. And
Jeremy, let me interrupt you. You are recording this, I think?
Yes.
Just to make sure? Excellent. Because I know we're going to get a lot of requests from this after our session today from those people who perhaps came late or missed it. Good.
Yes.
Glad you're recording it.
And it will exist in the Facebook world forever. So people can go back and watch it. Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us in the future of real estate. My name is Jeremy Pilarski. I'm the manager of our Shepherd office at RE/MAX Realtron. I'm joined by Alex Pilarski, relation, broker owner and founder of RE/MAX Realtron. Alex has been in the business since 1972 and will be a great resource for us today because he has been through all the ups and downs. How many booms and busts have you been through?
Well, let's call it market changes. And I think if we include the half, which I'll explain what the half was, it's going to be 5.5. I got into real estate in 1972, and we had a very, very busy, active market. And the government interfered and brought in anti-speculation tax, which is people who came in, renovated the properties and resold them. And between that and the quadrupling of gas prices in the mid-70s really killed the real estate market. Then in the early 80s, we had 22% interest rates. And it's interesting, even at 22%, there were people who were getting mortgages and happy to get a mortgage. Late 80s and early 90s was the oil crisis. In the 2000s was the dot-com bust. And then in 2008, 2009 was a subprime fiasco in the States. So those were the 5 that really dominated or impacted our market. And then if you think about what happened in 9/11, that changed how we flew, that changed security. So I've been through these before. On the other side, Jeremy, there have been people who have been predicting that the real estate bubble is going to burst for the last 20 years. And as a matter of fact, as we're going to see, despite COVID, despite everything else, there has been no bubble and prices are amazingly strong. So yeah, I can share some of those experiences with you.
One of our commenters, one of our agents says Garth Turner is who's been saying this, and he's been writing that in the news for 20 years, for as long as
20 years, yes. Sure. Well, usually people who put in news like that, they're hoping prices come down so they could buy because they've missed missed an opportunity.
I actually remember in 2008, as soon as the market had a little bit of uncertainty and prices went down a little bit, Garth Turner was in the news because he bought a place. So yeah, he's looking for those opportunities. And sorry, we're still on introductions. I forgot. We're Cam Forbes, Remax Realtron General Manager, started the business in 1989, right at another peak of the market, and sold for a few years, but having a background with an MBA and a CA, got right into management fairly quickly and learned the ropes there, grew through a number of different franchises and larger real estate companies, and then landed in Remax Realtron in 2000 and, sorry, I don't have it here.
2013.
2013,
2013.
And has been cruising as the Remax Realtron GM and watching us over our growth over the last 5 or 6 years. So it's been great to have you, Cam. Welcome, gentlemen. We're going to get started. I'll go through the agenda for everyone and what we're going to talk about, and how the future of real estate is really right now. And that's why we called it this, because we are really, the technology exists already for the next level. And this is just giving us an excuse to use it. So why don't we go ahead and look at the agenda for this?
Okay, we'll move on here. There we go.
So we're going to talk about why, amongst other businesses, real estate was deemed an essential service, and what that means to us as realtors and how we've acted since that designation, how we're working to keep everyone safe while we are working and while we're open. And we're going to look at what's happened in the market, and Alex is going to give us a rundown of that. And then we're going to talk about really if it's a good time to buy and sell, and we'll take your questions. And we hope this is an informative session and you guys can learn something. And hopefully our outcome from this, our goal is to make sure that you, our clients, customers, and people in our spheres are making better real estate decisions. So hopefully we can facilitate that. And if you have any questions about that, please send me the questions. I've already got a few already, and we'll just go from there. You can put them into the Q&A, you can put them into the chat, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. So without further ado, let me turn things over to Cam Forbes, and he'll talk about what's happening right now.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jeremy. Very excited to be with you here today to talk about the future of real estate. I would be remiss if I didn't set the stage, though, by talking a little bit about the real estate brokerage industry as an essential service and how we as practitioners, our agents as practitioners, our company is ensuring that everyone is safe at this period of time. So just as a framework or a platform, the province has identified 3 distinct phases for the pandemic. The first phase we have had and we are through, which is really, I'll call it when we locked down, really needed to flatten the curve of COVID in the province. We're past that phase, and now we're in the second phase, which is really gradually getting Ontario back to work in a safe way, obviously. So we are in the first stage of that. There's 3 stages identified. The first stage is that some businesses have been able to go back. As we all know, throughout this period of time, essential businesses like a grocery store were able to operate. So we got a bit familiar with the whole concept of physical distancing, the markings, the stickers on the ground, the plexiglass being introduced to separate staff from clients, that sort of a thing. But now there are other retail stores open too that have also introduced those types of safety measures. First, it was by appointment. Now you can go in the store, and obviously having safety practices. So that's where we are. Good to know sort of overall framework. Where are we in this process? The next phase, of course, would be phase 2, where they're going to allow even further numbers of businesses to open. We're not there yet. We're all obviously, us, looking forward to that stage, but making sure we do it in a safe and gradual fashion. So those are the 3 phases. And so first off, why is real estate brokerage, so buying and selling a home, helping someone to find a home, why was that determined to be an essential service? Again, the future of real estate, this is important because real estate brokerage is essential. And fundamentally, of course, we all need a home. We all need a place to live in. And that is why fundamentally real estate brokerage is an essential service. And during that, when we have a home, we obviously have life events that come up. whether it be a job transfer or an addition to the family. The environment around us, a pandemic doesn't care. These things happen regardless, whether it's an economic change, whether it's an environmental change like a pandemic. We as people need to continue to have a home, and we need to be able to change our circumstances based on our job life changes. So that's also why it's an essential service. And finally, of course, there are people who made commitments before this pandemic came into play. None of us, right? None of us, you, us, none of us predicted this pandemic and what it would be like. It's something unanticipated, unforeseen. So there are people who either purchased or sold prior to the pandemic coming to place. So if you can imagine, you were in a home, you made a purchase of a new home that you were going to move to, but hadn't sold your home and the pandemic hit. So you obviously need to sell your home. You need the help of a professional realtor like a Realtron realtor to help you buy or sell your home. So those are the reasons why it's essential. It's an essential business, and we've been able to operate throughout this period of time in a safe way. Which takes me to the number one fundamental thing for all of us, of course, and this will be the future of real estate for all of us, regardless of pandemic. Health and safety, top priority. It always is the priority, but I think the pandemic has brought it to the forefront, right out there for all of us to be aware of and be much more cognizant of. We at Realtron, during this process, needed to ensure that everyone was safe. Now, one of the fundamental things of a real estate transaction is that you as a buyer go with your realtor to see homes, potential homes that you may purchase. It's called a showing. An appointment often is a phrase, different types of appointments. And so how could we continue to allow people to see homes in a safe way? We knew we had to allow that because people just can't purchase without seeing a home. So how could we do that? And we're at the forefront in developing safety protocols to make sure that showings could occur. So first and foremost, we said, okay, is it possible to do a showing virtually? And in some cases it is. So you can obviously have a homeowner walk through their home with FaceTime or a WhatsApp type application to show people in advance. So it is possible to do virtually, but having said that, most people need to actually physically see the home. So how do we make sure they're safe? We developed an acknowledgement, an affirmation for people. So before they went in the home, they just had to affirm that they had not traveled in 14 days and that they obviously had no symptoms of COVID. So very important. It just brought it top of mind for everybody to make sure before they were booking and entering a home, they affirmed those things. Minimizing the number of people is essential in all elements, and it's for the future of real estate. Minimizing the number of people within a home, within situations is important. So we said, okay, is it possible to just have the agent go through, because you have to have the agent go through with one of the clients. So if it's a couple, maybe one of the couple could be home in their home watching on Facebook, on FaceTime or on a WhatsApp application. So minimize the number of people on the showing and also minimize the time of a showing. So showings are often 30 minutes. Sometimes they can even be 60 minutes, but could we get people in and out of the house in the quickest possible fashion, but still allow them to see the home? So we set parameters around that. Some simple things like lights. So we said, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, your home's for sale, keep the lights on during a showing. So nobody's going to touch your light switches. Nobody's going to touch any of your things in your home. So we said, don't touch the dishwasher, don't touch the cupboards, don't touch things in the home to ensure there's no transmission on surfaces. And finally, and it seems kind of obvious about washrooms, but not necessarily. So don't use the washroom when you're in a home. That was obviously another essential thing for us to ensure that showings could happen and everyone was safe. Now, having said the showings, we, because it was essential, needed to make sure that you as the buyer and seller were safe. So we made the decision, even though we didn't have to, we made the decision to close our offices to the public, and our offices are still closed to the public. We don't need to have you into our offices. We can serve you virtually. We can serve you in other ways to ensure we minimize the people in the office and any sort of transmission in the office. So we took a firm and bold statement to ensure that there are minimum numbers of people in our office. But having said that, we did not let you as our buyer and seller, you as our prospective client down in this regard. We had a virtual team of support staff working throughout this period of time from their homes. which included, we have a 24/7 live person answering the phone to answer your calls to us, to look for their agent, to answer any, if you've got a showing booked on your home, to confirm that it's okay to go to the showing. So 24/7 live answering the phone from their home. And a virtual team also working from their homes to support our agents with all the paperwork required in the transaction, anything to help you get the best terms, best price for your home in the marketplace. And so those are some of the things we did to ensure that people were safe. In addition, the province made the decision to prohibit public open houses, which of course makes absolute sense. Public open houses, we're all familiar with them. They're not easy to control. So people show up, they don't book in advance, and you can have a lot of people show up at one time. So it doesn't make any sense. So there is still a prohibition in the province of Ontario for public open houses. So we at Realtron said, okay, how do we make sure we expose your home, the seller's home, to the most number of people to get you the best price and best terms? Virtual open houses. So we were a very early adopter of a virtual open house, which is really the agent walking through the home, again, using a virtual tool like WhatsApp or FaceTime to show people the home, to do a public open house. And we have had successfully over 40 virtual open houses every single weekend for the last 3 weekends. So a significant amount of activity, helping all our sellers get more eyeballs on their home, more potential buyers, more offers, more showings, selling for a higher price. So a fantastic thing to overcome the problem or concern with safety of an open house. We also have had, and so we're an international company in that we've served international buyers and sellers for a long time. So we've had a lot of virtual tools to help people who just physically weren't here. They include e-signature solutions, paperless tools so that no paper is required to be touched by anybody. So they can be e-signatures, they can be e-documents back and forth, whether it's agreement of purchase and sale or any other document. And also in terms of funds, obviously the e-transference of funds, whether it's the receipt of funds or the sending of funds. We had adopted that earlier, and through COVID, we've been able to ensure that all funds have been flowing smoothly and efficiently, so there's no impediment to transactions. In our offices now, we do have some staff, limited number of staff. We've got them behind plexiglass to ensure they're separated from our professional agents working in the office. And we have hand sanitizer in the offices as well. And this is future of real estate, right? Beyond the pandemic, these types of things are likely going to continue in our society, right? So the future of real estate, plexiglass, hand sanitizer, being safe. And we have a policy of masks in our offices. And so why is that relevant to you? It's to make sure you're safe. We do not want to have, by accident, one of our agents getting a transmission in our office. So plexiglass, minimum numbers of people in the office, and mandatory face masks in all common areas. And so those are the things that we're doing to make sure that we ensure you are safe as a buyer and seller, and that our agents operate in a safe fashion now and in the future of real estate. Now, having said that, gone through the safety and where we are in terms of the overall situation with COVID, I wanted to just quickly go through the support programs that are available today, whether it's federal government or else otherwise, because they have a relevance to real estate, obviously, in the economy and the future of real estate. So there are programs that the government has introduced. I think the most common and known one is the CERB, so the $2,000 a month that really augments the employment insurance system. If you're self-employed, you're eligible. Any impact on your economic means that has been hampered by COVID, you've got that available, which is fantastic for the economy and helping make sure things work as well as possible. From an employer perspective, and any of you guys who are small business owners, I know a lot of you probably are, or even medium-sized business owners or managers, there's a great program to subsidize wages to help make sure that people continue to be employed and to bring back people who may have been temporarily laid off. So it's fantastic, 75% wage subsidy, wonderful program that's been extended into the fall. There's also a great program as a small business owner. It's a loan program. So you can get a $40,000 loan for your regular expenses, like your rent, like your payroll, like things that you have regular expenses. And if you pay it back by the end of 2022, you get $10,000 forgiven. So not only is it interest-free, you get a $10,000 forgiveness. So a fantastic program to help small businesses obviously operate in this period of time. And finally, there's a great rental program for commercial rent. So if you're a small business owner, you're renting, you can talk to your landlord about this. There are some hiccups, but it's certainly not a bad program to help people with rent, particularly retail people with paying their rent to their landlords. Now, beyond the federal government's programs, those specific ones, I'm not sure if any of you have taken advantage of this, but it's important that you're aware of it. So all of the banks, all of the mortgage lending institutions allowed for a 6-month deferral of mortgage payments. So that's fantastic. There was some press that, this negative add to your balance. Hogwash. This was a great program, very limited extra cost because interest rates are so low right now. 15 to 20% of Canadians have taken advantage of this. If you are in a situation where you're feeling it all tight in terms of cash flow, take advantage of this. Talk to your lender. You go to your lender directly. Federal government has pitched in by allowing us to pay our income taxes later. Auto companies, auto insurance companies have pitched in because, first off, we're not driving much, right? You're not driving too much. I'm not driving too much. We're driving fewer kilometers. We're getting reductions in our premiums as a result of that. And for those of you with children in post-secondary institutions, obviously this is not going to be a great summer for jobs for them, unfortunately. It's too bad, but the government recognized that $12.50 a month for their 4 months, May through August, to help them, obviously, when they cannot get a position for the summer, to help them with their tuition and costs next year. And so that's really the support programs we have, and it's all great. It's going to help the future of real estate. It's going to provide some stability to the economy and real estate. And it leads me into Alex now, who's going to talk to you a little bit about where we are in the market. So over to you, Alex.
Thank you, Cam. Thank you for that, telling us what is available. Let's go straight into my presentation. So let's talk about what's happening in the real estate market today. What we have is, this shows you COVID and the number of showings in Ontario. So when, as COVID impacted the marketplace, just one second, let's see, as COVID impacted the marketplace here, you can see that the number of showings dropped drastically as we went into April. But as we came out of April and into May, the number of showings is really has improved as more and more people are coming back into the marketplace. And what we've also seen at our company, the low time was that period of March 30th to April 12th. As you guys can see here. And what happened was that was a low time as people were getting used to everything. And now slowly over time, our showings, weekly showings have been improving almost by 25% a week. And we're now showing almost 4. And what these are, when I say showings, these are appointments on our listings. So as you can see, people are very, very much interested in buying properties. And there are a lot more appointments being handled by our company. The same thing occurred with inbound calls, the number of calls we get as a company. If you take a look at that May 18th to May 24th period of time, the reason that's a little bit lower is that was the Victoria Day weekend. So of course, we were closed for Victoria Day, and the number of calls came in was less. As a matter of fact, sorry, let me apologize. We were open Victoria Day because our staff is available 24/7, but the number of calls did not come in as we anticipated because of the number of people taking the weekend off. For those of you who have wondered about what's happening with sales in Ontario, in the whole of Ontario for April, that was the low month where we saw sales being down approximately 67% from a year ago. And that was, I believe, the bottom of the market. And pretty much all across Ontario, the results have been the same, with the business in April being down. And of course, the surprise was that the March dollar amount, so what is the average sale price, and despite the fact that there were fewer home sales taking place, the number of the prices did not come down significantly. And the Toronto Real Estate Board published their new numbers this morning for the month of May. And actually, the numbers were very, very optimistic, very, very good. There were 4,606 sales took place in May, which was down 53% from a year ago, and which is excellent. Big improvement over the 67% that was down. And prices were up 3% from a year ago. But the truth of it is, I never look at a year ago prices. I always compare prices compared to the end of the year. So we ended off 2019 with an average price of $819,000. The average price so far into as of the end of May 2020 was $878,000. So actually prices have increased 7.2% from the start of the year. And that is really what has been happening in the marketplace. See, the demand for houses hasn't changed. What COVID has done is put a pause on the market. And so, as we know, homes are in demand. What we've seen last month and even in April is when a home is priced according to the market, there are still multiple offers. And the average home is now selling within 24 days of being listed, provided the price is correct. At Realtron, as always, we have outsold the market. So we haven't done our final numbers for this month yet, for May, I apologize. But our market share, our production in May was down, our production in April was down 49% compared to the board 67%. So actually our market share grew by 54% last month. And the reality of it is, why do we outperform the market? Well, first of all, we have 9 offices, and each office is managed by a non-selling manager. In fact, our main office on Willowdale has 2 non-selling managers. So with 9 branches, we have 10 managers. And the managers are there, they're non-selling, they're there to make sure that our agents can help their customers. They're full-time, they're experienced, and they support our agents to support you. Whether it's legal questions or experience questions, a lot of managers like myself have been through several recessions, several turns in the market, and their experience is invaluable to help our agents do a better job than the competition. We were the first company in Canada to have an appointment center that was open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So our clients never miss a showing. If you've been out looking for houses on the weekend, you realize very quickly that the majority of other brokers are closed on the weekends, and they don't, it's impossible to see their listings. We have invested in a 24/7 appointment center, so our staff are answering the phone always. Our appointments are always booked, and our agents never miss that important sign call or the buyers that are looking to buy the properties that they have listed. Another major benefit is that we are RE/MAX. Google Trends is a tool that Google has, and what is interesting with this tool and how this tool works is you go to googletrends.com and you can type in up to 5 different comparative items. So if you wanted to search who is researching, who's typing into Google, let's say you wanted to see what was more popular, monkeys, cats, dogs, you could, and Google shows you exactly on a comparative basis what people are searching. And of course, this is for Canada. And what this shows is that this is the Remax. Remax is gets a lot more hits on the internet that other companies do. The next slide is exactly the same, except if you hover over the end, you get a comparative analysis of one search versus another. So in this case, every time 81 people search Remax on the internet, 27 people search Royal LePage, 12 people search Century 21, and less than one searches Home Life. So the amount of business that we get through the internet, actually we get over 2 million hits a month on our sites, really attracts more buyers to Remax, and that's why we have more offers and we can help our clients better. Remax, of course, is an international company. We have over 110,000 associates in the world, in 7,000 plus offices, and in 100 plus countries. And all of our listings, anytime you list your home with a Remax Realtron, with a Remax agent, in fact, it gets listed on Remax Global, which means you get worldwide coverage. And when people travel around the world, they see a name, a brand that they're comfortable with. And this is a chart of high net worth individual migration patterns. And as we've all seen over the last 10, 15 years, the amount of immigration into Canada has really been huge. So when people are transferring or immigrating from one country to another, they generally deal with a company they are familiar with. And that's why around the world, people will buy McDonald's or buy Coke or buy Pepsi or even drive Mercedes cars, because these are brand names that they're comfortable with and they trust. And what this has done for us is helped us dominate the marketplace. And all of those areas in red that you see are areas where Remax Realtron sells more homes in those areas than any other company. And so we are doing very well compared to the rest of the companies. Let's take a look at market realities. Toronto, as we have seen, has become a very difficult place to rent. The average basement apartment, even up to New Market, rents for anywhere between $1,000 to $1,400 a month. An average 500 square foot condo, which is a one bedroom, will rent anywhere from $1,800 to $2,200 a month. And an average one bedroom plus den, which is about 600 square feet, would rent for $2,200 to $2,600 a month. So those rents are very, very high because there's a lack of rental properties or a lack of properties for people to move into. Now, I know COVID has created a challenge for those people who have opted out of renting by the month and renting on a day basis through Airbnb, but those individuals went for the higher profits. And now that things have changed and Airbnb is very slow at this time or non-existent, they are suffering because they were going for the high profits. And so along with high profit comes high risk. And right now, those people who are relying on Airbnb are going to be suffering short term until air travel comes back. In terms of market realities, we have a 0% vacancy rate in Toronto. We have huge immigration into Toronto. For the last 15, 20 years, Canada has had anywhere from 300 to 350,000 immigrants immigrate to our great country. And of course, they immigrate because we do have a great country. Freedom of religion, freedom of speech, safe, and I don't have to tell you about that. But out of those roughly 300,000 new immigrants, 65% or roughly 200,000 move into the GTA. Now, if we say that each family unit has 4 people, that means we need 50,000 new units every single year for the last 20 odd years to satisfy the demand. Well, unfortunately, we haven't been able to satisfy that demand. On average, GTA builders build about 40,000 units a year, 30,000 in condos, and about 10,000 in new homes. And so that has created a huge, huge demand, which we're seeing. When you now add immigration from other provinces where people are coming for job opportunities, and you also add Generation Z. Now, Generation Z are those children that were born between 1997 and 2012. So those who were born early in the late 1990s are now in their 20s. They want to leave their parents' house. They want to buy their own places if they can afford it, or they want to rent their own places. And all of that means that they continue to put huge demand on the rental units and new construction or purchases as well. The bottom line is new construction cannot keep pace. When you add low interest rates where more people can afford property mortgages than ever before, and we have a strong economy, which is led by our technology. The wonderful thing about the virtual technology these days is that a lot of our technology companies are virtual. So because the Canadian dollar is so low compared to the US dollar, a lot of US companies are hiring on contract Canadian firms that can supply technology on them. So all in all, the market is strong. It's going to continue to be strong. Yes, we are in a slight dip, but we will come out of it and prices will continue to grow. Here is a historical chart. So as you can see, in 1973, the average price was 40,000. Actually, I started in November of 1972. The average price was 32,000. And then in 1973 and 74, the government brought in the spec tax, which killed the market, but that's another story. But from 1973 to 2019, the annual growth rate was 6.6%. So what we said is, okay, let's be conservative. Let's see if Toronto continues to grow at a 5% rate, where will prices be in roughly in 10 years' time? And we're looking at $1.3 million for the average price, which today is $878,000. And so, okay, so let's even be more conservative. So let's say prices only increase by 3%, then the average price on the Toronto Real Estate Board would be $1.1 million. And again, I think we're being very, very conservative because as Toronto continues to grow, builders can't keep up to demand, which means prices have to go up. So COVID has done a very, very interesting thing. It has accelerated how people work. Now, generally speaking, change is very, very slow. If you think of technological change, how long it took people to adopt and to have smartphones, how long it took people to switch from regular light bulbs to LED light bulbs, how long it took for people to have their own home computers. And you could do change over a slow period of time. But what COVID has done is it has forced us to change very, very quickly. And so those companies, we had to change very, very quickly. But there's a lesson there. And the lesson is the coffee shop lesson. And what happened with the coffee shops in the States was they were pushing very, very hard for the government to allow them to open so they could go back to business. But when they did a survey of their customers, they found 66% of their customers said, I don't care if you're open, I'm not coming because I'm afraid. And so the key is, what people have to understand is, just because restaurants will open, it doesn't mean everybody will go rushing in. And consumers will continue to drive the new normal. You know, it reminds me of the story of Mahatma Gandhi, who was an Indian lawyer, anti-colonial nationalist, and political ethicist, who employed non-violent resistance to lead the successful campaign for India's independence from British rule. And Gandhi was leading a march of several 100,000 people to protest. And the reporter called him over and said, "Mr. Gandhi, can we interview you?" And he said, "Sure." And after a few minutes, he said to the reporter, "I'm sorry, I am the leader of my people. There they go. I have to follow." And the lesson there is we have to go where the consumers want to go, and that's what we have to do. So, pardon me. Real estate will definitely be more virtual, and because at Realtron we've really had a lot of international business, we've been operating virtually for a long time. We've now added touchless services, legal services, so you can now legally close a home without meeting a lawyer personally, but virtually. We've added home breakdown insurance services where if something happens to the major components of your home, there's warranties for us. So we're adding more services to help our clients become more virtual and to help them with the sale of their properties. And the fact is that consumers are demanding you guys want to be safe, and you are demanding 100% contactless transactions, and that's what we're doing. You know, every economic challenge is faced, especially by real estate agents and brokers, and if one is unable to change to the times, they are going to go out of business. And the best example I can think of was the economic downturn in the late 80s. In 1989, we as members of the Toronto Real Estate Board entered the marketplace with 27,500 real estate agents. By 1992, when the recession was over and the country started to go back to business, there were only 15,000 real estate agents left. 45% have left the business. So those companies and agents, unwilling or unable to change, will be forced to leave the business. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that our agents are in such a position they can help their clients. And we're actually leading the way in virtual sales, protecting our clients, and making sure we give our clients the service, the support that they need. You know, real estate is the most important asset you'll ever own. We have to make sure it's done safely and that we look after your needs. So Jeremy, that's basically the end of my presentation. If you, let's take it over.
Sure, we've got tons of great questions. Thanks, Alex. We have lots of questions. I've written a lot of them down. Thank you for those of you who have sent in questions. We'll try and get to as many of them as possible. We can stay on for quite a while. Just to get started, one of the most frequent questions we got in advance of this was, should people sell now or should they just wait it out? How long will they have to wait? I'm trying to pair together a few different types of questions. How long will they have to wait? Should they sell now or should they wait it out? And if so, how long, basically? You want to start?
Cam, I've been talking for the last 15 minutes. Give me a break.
Sure, sounds good. Yeah. So fundamentally, it always comes down to the reason for the sale, Jeremy. So if somebody was looking to sell right now to trade their home for whatever reason, now is a great time to sell. The reason I say that is, and this is what's getting missed in the media, is there are not a lot of homes available for sale. So at this time, there's about half of the number of homes available for sale as there was last year at this time. So there has not been a flood of listings to the marketplace. There is a shortage of listings on the marketplace. So if you were at all concerned, should I sell now? Will I get the price I want? Absolutely, head to the market now. I don't think there's going to be any big change going forward, but if there were more sellers that come to the market, you may have more competition in, 2, 3, 4 months from now. So certainly now is a great time to sell.
I would add, Cam, that the majority of people are selling their home and buying a new home.
Yes.
And so if you're upgrading up, usually the more expensive homes increase in price faster than the lower price homes. So you can imagine if somebody's moving from a townhome to a detached home, usually the detached home will increase a little bit more than the previous property. So if you're buying and selling in the market, it is a good time to sell, because it doesn't really matter. I honestly don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Nobody does. I would not be speculating in this market. The same way I wouldn't be telling people to sell or buy stocks, hoping to sell them tomorrow and make money. It's highly speculative, and you can get hurt. But if you look at the fact that what has happened to the history of Toronto homes, you can see the demand that even despite COVID and the low number of people purchasing compared to last year, prices are still up 7.2% from the end of last year. A well-priced property is getting several offers, so there are multiple offers existing. So I'm against speculation, but if you do need a property, now I would say is the time to buy, because interest rates are low, and that would be my recommendation, to sell and buy. Or if you're looking to buy, this might be the opportunity where you can afford to buy, whereas in January, February, because the interest rates were higher, you wouldn't be able to qualify.
Right, and that dovetails really nicely into the next question that I got that I thought was important to have answered. A few people said, should I sell and then just get out and rent? Is the market too risky right now? Should I sell and rent? Because there is uncertainty. What should I do? I think the answer is the same as it always would be, but go ahead, Alex.
Well, I remember I'm trying to remember the date. It was like the early 90s, or somebody, a friend of mine who I was playing hockey with, said, "Oh, prices are going crazy. I just sold my house for $188,000." And I said, this was at John and Yonge Street, just south of Highway 7. I said, "Why would you do that?" He goes, "Well, the prices are so high, they'll never go up. I'm going to wait a year or two and then buy back in." Well, a year later, he bought a similar house for $280,000 because the market was getting away from him. So with his speculation, he ended up losing $100,000. So real estate will go up given time, because they're not making land anymore. I'm against speculation, and I'm for buying a house that you and your family can enjoy. Because ultimately, what price you pay for, as long as it's convenient and comfortable for you, when you sell it, what are you going to do with it? You have to enjoy living in it, and that's why you're buying a house, to raise your family and have your own place. So now's a good time to buy. Now is not the time to speculate.
Great. And I'm going to go right into a question that we've gotten a couple times here in the live, and was sent to me as well before, which is on the investment side of it. Does it make sense to, sorry, I'm getting some feedback. Are you guys getting the same feedback as me?
No.
I'll mute. Yeah, I've got some feedback, yeah.
So the question is on investment properties. So it's come in a few different ways. Should people sell vacant investment properties if they're having trouble finding a renter now? It was asked, how's the rental market? What's happening now with a shortage and just people not getting out there right now? And with Airbnbs not being able to rent, will those properties come on the market? So basically the whole, what's happening with the rental market? What should people do in terms of investing? And probably connects to the previous question, but I think is important to
Cam, you want to take that one?
For sure. I mean, generally speaking, real estate is a long-term investment, and long-term, we showed you whether it's, an investment property or your home, in 30 years, you're going to have an average price of over $3 million in the GTA, just with a 5% increase. So if your reason to invest was for part of your retirement, to get an investment, pay off your mortgage, which is most people's intent with buying an investment, don't sell. Keep it for the long term. Nothing has changed for you. If, though, your financial situation has changed and you're finding you need to have some cash flow, there is a great market to buy it. So don't be worried about going to the marketplace if you feel you have to. But generally speaking, this is not the time to sell your investment properties.
Great. I'm going to bring in Chuck here. Chuck had a question. He asked me, he said his question was long, so I wanted to be able to come on and ask it. And I've got a couple other people's hands up, so we'll try and get to you. Chuck, if you could unmute yourself, you can go ahead and ask your question. Chuck there? Okay. Well, let's try another one, and then we'll try and get back to Chuck. Mauricia, let's try and add you. Okay. This is the future of meetings. We're getting used to it.
Correct.
Okay. Hi. Yeah, we can hear you. Oh, we can hear you. You unmuted. Yeah, there you are.
I'm interested. Hi, I'm interested in purchasing a rental property, and you answered. Hello. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Okay, perfect. I'm interested in purchasing a rental property, and I'm just wondering if it's a good time to rent. You did talk about not selling your existing rental property, but in terms of purchase, what's your recommendation?
Right, so great question. Thank you for that. I think sort of answered already. I think in the long run, it's going to be good. I think in the short run, there's some uncertainty with rentals, with people's qualifications. We use their credit checks, we use their job security and everything. And I think with uncertainty of that, there's a little short-term uncertainty. So I would say you have to put a little more money aside. But if you're looking for a long-term purchase and a good investment, it's still going to work out.
I also, I would say it is a good time, provided you are realistic as to today's rental rates. And the biggest challenge I've seen is somebody, our agents will deal with somebody who says, yes, this place we can rent for $2,000 a month. And the client says, okay, and they buy it. And then when it comes to rent it, they go, yes, but I want to make a profit. I want to get $2,200 a month. And our agents would say, no, but I told you it's only, well, I don't care. I want to try. And then they're just not realistic about their rents, and the place stays vacant 2 or 3 months before they finally bring it down to the current rental rate. So I would say as long as you're realistic about the rental rates, and if there's going to be an economic downturn, people have to live somewhere. So hopefully it doesn't happen to any of us, but if you have to sell your home, you still have to rent something to move into it. And so rentals will continue to be an important part of our economy. And also, as what we're missing are all those foreign buyers and foreign investors coming back to Toronto. I know there have been some changes in how China is dealing in Hong Kong. They are now, their 20-year term with the British government is over, and mainland China, I believe, is now going to take over Hong Kong. There are, I believe, about 300,000 Canadian residents living in Hong Kong. I think a lot of them will choose to come back to Canada. The Chinese government has also changed rules about taking money out of mainland China. I think that's going to encourage more people to come here. So long term, I believe rental rates are going to be good. But as Jeremy said, is the short term, as long as you have some extra cash, be prepared, but also make sure your rents are reasonable. How much you need to get out of the property is irrelevant compared to what the rental rates, what the going rates are.
Great advice. We've got a lot of questions coming in. Chuck, are you there? If we try again, Chuck. I think you dovetailed into a couple other ones, so let's address those. Foreign money, is it still coming in? I know China is limiting even more so the amount of money that their people can get out of the country, so that's difficult. My feeling sort of is that as there's uncertainty in the world, when things happen like this, not only do we have space, which is good for the current situation, but people around the world see Canada as a safe place to be. And so when there's uncertainty in the world, when there's any type of dysfunction, everyone's got a friend, a cousin, a relative in Toronto or in Canada somewhere. They send them some money, they buy a property. And throughout the years, we've seen a lot of that. And that's driven a lot of buyership into Toronto. So
Jeremy, let me also suggest that you were invited here by your Realtron agent. Our agents are full-time professional agents. Like us, they want to protect you, they want to look after you, and they want to have a client for life. They are going to give you the best advice possible. Gosh, how many Zoom meetings have we had in the last 30 days, Jeremy? Ballpark.
30 days, I'm not sure, but since the pandemic started, we've done, I think, 87. So
right.
We've had a lot of Zoom meetings with our agents.
So we as a company are really committed to protecting our agents, our clients, and our staff. And we are constantly, this is, I believe, my third or fourth Zoom meeting today. I'm losing count. But we're constantly giving our agents information so they can help their clients. Give your agent a call. They're going to do their best to help you and give you the straight goods, the straight advice that applies to you. And I'm very proud of our agents because of their honesty and integrity. And just speak to your Realtron agent. They're going to be able to give you a lot of advice, a lot of direction. We're not here to sell you houses. We're here to help you with your real estate problems. And sometimes that's a rental, sometimes it's something else, but we're here to help.
That's great. And let me add that if you don't have a Realtron agent, if you came through Remax Realtron's Facebook, Instagram, or somewhere else, you can always just message us on any social media or send us an email. I'm Jeremy at Remax Realtron, A. Pilarski, C. Forbes at Remax Realtron, and we'll all put you in touch with the right agent that knows your neighborhood in Toronto in the GTA, and they'll be able to help you out. Great. I don't think we're going to get to Chuck's audio. We're going to try to allow Anna to come on. Anna, are you there? As we give Anna a minute. Avijit, I believe, sorry if I messed up the name. What percentage of seller agent versus buyer agents are in your company? That's a really interesting question. Alex, you want to discuss that?
I was thinking about something else. I saw somebody, Anna Sokolov, no, not Anna, somebody, a question came across the table, basically saying, I'm seeing a lot of rentals in Vaughan. And Cam, I can't remember the numbers, but we are probably doing 200 to 300 rentals a month, aren't we?
No, absolutely. The rental market, and just let me add in a few things here. Thank you, Alex, on the rental market, because there's been a few different questions right on the rental market. So first off, nothing has happened substantially in the rental market. Yes, there's been a little bit of slack over the last 30, 60 days, but just to be clear, rental rates have gone up almost 10% per year over the last 3 years. So I personally have a condo. I was renting it for $1,600 5 years ago. It's now rented at $2,300, and that's the rent. It went up to 25 and maybe it's 23 now. So again, real estate is a long-term investment. It's a fantastic opportunity. Are there, are there a few Airbnb units on the market? Yes, there are. They will be absorbed. This is a very, very short-term phenomenon that rents will be a little bit soft, but we're not talking anything than losing maybe half of the gain over the last year is all that's happened, right? So rental rates are strong. There's demand. It was Marina Kaufman, I believe, who said there's strong demand for rentals in Vaughan. There is strong demand for rentals in the suburbs, in the city. And it is a great opportunity to buy property to rent, particularly detached dwellings that you might have a basement, you get a couple of units in, and fantastic opportunities throughout. So don't let COVID scare you that there's some sort of massive vacancy issue coming up or that rents are dropping. That's not happening. So,
and by the way, another factor. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
People have to live somewhere. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, another factor that we, I think, underestimate in Toronto is, especially in an economic downturn, and even more so, especially when that's related to oil, is the return of people from outside of Toronto into Toronto from Canada. In Canada, migration from the other provinces. So there are a lot of people in Alberta who have trouble finding jobs right now. They grew up in Canada, in Toronto, they moved back to Toronto to find a job where we have a wider range of businesses that you can be involved in. So it's a more stable market.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I just got lost there for a second. How do we feel? What do you guys think? Do you have any opinions on people moving out of the city as more people are work from home, as more companies are making the technology available? Do you think there'll be more suburban sprawl and less rush to downtown? So will that increase demand outside of the city and maybe decrease the demand for condos?
I have to tell you that the city breathes. There are times when everybody goes downtown, and then for whatever, well, a lot of kids go downtown because it's fun, and then they get families and they move out to the suburbs. And then it comes back in again and back out again. So right now, yes, your point is an excellent point, which is a lot of companies, people move downtown because it was closer to work. And they may say, okay, since I'm not going to go back to work downtown, maybe I'll go out to the suburbs. But the Gen Zs, which are the young kids who are now in their 20s, they all want to go downtown. So like I said, it comes and it goes. Yeah. And so forget about the speculation. Look at long term. This is your house. What do you want? Guaranteed rents will increase for all of the reasons we talked about. Maybe not now. This is a little hiccup. As Cam pointed out, some of the huge gains that were made for the last 5 years, maybe it'll go down a little bit. But rental rates in Toronto will continue to go up because there's not enough land. The builders can't keep up. And by the way, this is what we've been pushing the Ontario government is they are the ones who have created the shortage of homes by the red tape, which does not allow new products to come on the market quickly. I remember about 10 years ago, it cost $75,000 for a builder to bring a lot to market in Richmond Hill. That was 10 years ago. So between the taxes that the government charges and the delays that they create, they have created a shortage of houses, which has created this sharp increase. And unfortunately, there's no end in sight.
Yeah, and one thing, hey, on that whole move to the suburbs. So the neat thing about COVID is there's opportunities created in all marketplaces, right? So if you were downtown and you were going to move out to the suburbs anyhow because you wanted a backyard, because you wanted more room, I don't think that people are going to change their decision and say, I don't want to live downtown, I'll just go to the suburbs. But if they were thinking of going to the suburbs anyhow, now maybe their employers have just opened up, right? There's so many people who can work from home who never used to be able to work from home. So now maybe you're not limited to the same geographic distance for commuting that you would have been before. So it just opens up a further suburb area, I think, to a lot of people. So there's an opportunity for you. If you were going to go to the suburbs and you were thinking of moving to something like a Pickering or a Markham or something, I think this allows you to even look further and get a bigger home or more land, which may be to your needs and wants. So just another opportunity.
Yeah. I think one further point on that is In 2017, the freehold price, what dropped quite a bit, and the condo price went way up. So that gap is the lowest it's been in probably 8 or 9 years. And so it's a good opportunity if you are in a condo and you're moving up, the price is reasonable to be able to do it. Maybe that'll shift in another direction. I don't know if the demand will shift as much as the trends and the flows. So it's a good time to go if you can do it now. And someone asked about that, and should they sell their condo first to buy a house, or should they buy first and then sell? It's the age-old question in real estate.
Cam, go ahead with that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, traditionally in the GTA, most people would advise you, our realtors will advise you to buy and then sell. And that really isn't different now. But again, it's really important, your individual circumstances. Your professional realtor will talk to you about that. Will make sure that they match the solution to your needs. But there is no reason why you can't continue with the strategy in the GTA of buying before you sell. And if you own a condo downtown, there still is demand for condos downtown. They've gone up in price substantially over the last few years. That's a great trade for you right now. And take a look what you can get, right? Start looking with your agent out in the home market in the suburbs, see what you can get. And there's nothing wrong with putting in an offer, buying, then selling your condo. Key thing is timing. Keep them close together, right? Buy and sell close together. So you're in this same period of time. I'll call it this COVID change period of time, or this pause period of time. That's the key.
And let me add, if you trust your agent, listen to them. If you don't trust your agents, you shouldn't do business with them. It's simple. Where we run into problems is the same situation as I was talking about rent. Your real estate professional says your property is worth $1 million. And you go, okay, I think you're trying to underprice me. I want to get 1.2 million. And the real estate agent wants to sell your place, right? Our agents want to sell your place. If by chance they are wrong, when in today's market, despite COVID, properties are selling with multiple offers. About a month, 3-4 weeks ago, a listing came out that had 67 offers on it. So if by chance an offer, if your agent has made a mistake by properly marketing it, you're going to get multiple offers and you're going to get a higher price. But don't assume that your agent wants to just sell it cheap and get rid of it quickly. If you just trust your agent and deal with them, they will give you good advice. And honestly, like I said, the market will take care of price in many, many ways. If you're priced too high, the market will say, sorry, your agent did a great job. He showed it to 100 people, but none of them are interested in putting in an offer because it's just too high. There was another, so deal with your agent. Like I said, if you trust them, deal with them. If you don't trust them, get rid of them. Another question that was asked is, do you recommend buying, what part of Ontario should I buy or buy rental property? It all depends on your personal philosophy. So if you're looking to buy, you want prices to go up by 50,000, 100,000, sell the property and then have the money, that's one decision. If you're planning, and my philosophy, by the way, is just to buy, to never sell. You never make a mistake buying. You only make a mistake when you sell. You sell it too fast, you don't get enough. If you buy a property, whether it's in Kitchener or in Guelph or in Barrie, and it rents out at a good rent, over a 20-year plan, in 20 years' time, the mortgage is paid off, and now you're getting $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month without expenses, literally. That is a long-range plan, and if you have two of those properties, you're getting $8,000 a month, and that's a nice retirement fund. Those people who bought for $700,000, sold for $800,000, when taxes were done, they made $50,000, $60,000. They went out, they bought a new car, and then they had nothing. So the advice isn't, my advice is make sure, it doesn't matter where you buy, make sure the rent will cover over time, and look at it as a long time, as Cam said, a retirement fund, where in 20 years time, that's part of your retirement. You're getting $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month rent, and you have a rental property for life. If you want a quick return, you have a better chance, didn't say guarantee, you have a better chance in a hot area, but you'll pay a lot more, but then you're gambling more. I'm not a gambler. I like to do things safe and long-term.
Yeah, I think you could definitely maybe get a better rent in areas outside of the city, but you know, location, that's a thing.
Well, you know, if you take a look at Barrie, you can buy a nice house in Barrie for $400,000. That would cost you $800,000 in Toronto, and rents are similar. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking for a quick return to sell it and make money, yeah, Toronto will be better, but long term, you can have good tenants, pay off the property, and have a good income. So you have to decide, how long do you want to have the rental property for? And are you buying it for the rent or for the capital appreciation?
Yeah. I think there are a couple questions I really want to touch on. There was an anonymous attendee who says they have a vacant condo that was inherited. Are they better to rent it or to sell it now? I think that's a real question we can give someone a real answer on.
Yeah, well, again, individual circumstances. So it's an investment. So if you are going to invest that money, you've got some options. The real estate market is a great opportunity in the GTA to make money over the long term. So it is a fantastic investment. I definitely encourage you, but diversification is key, right? If you have all in rental, maybe not, but if you don't, absolutely a great investment for you in real estate right now. Keep it rented.
Mm-hmm. So someone asked about prediction on prices, where things are going to be in 5 years. I think in 5 years, that chart that went up 5% per year is really a reasonable and safe estimate for that. And for a short-term investment, renovation and sale, would you suggest a condo or freehold? Any comments on that? I think it's going to really depend on the property, and both could work.
On what the rents are, and are you prepared to subsidize it until the rents reach a level that you can afford or that will cover the costs. So it always comes down to rent. What can you rent it for, and how much does it carry for? It's strictly, that's all it is if you're looking for a rental long-term property. Mm-hmm. Cam, would you, what's your 2 cents on it?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I know there are people out there that their living is to buy, renovate, sell homes. You know, they still can do that. Right now, there is more risk with that, right? Because it is a riskier time to do that right now. But if your intent is, hey, you could live in it, so you can buy it, you can renovate, live in it for a while, and then sell it, fantastic. You've just governed against that risk. But the only challenge is if you feel you've got to sell this thing within a year, that would be speculation. That's probably not the best strategy at this time.
I also saw a question to flash up, Jeremy. Is it better to accept a lower rent or wait for a better market? Well, let's say you have a place that rents for $2,000 a month. That's the going rate, and you're insistent on getting $2,200 a month, and you're not getting any rentals. Well, for every month that you don't rent it, you've lost $2,000. So 3 months of not renting it means you've lost $6,000. $6,000 divided by 12 months means that you're actually going to get $500 a month less than what, if you had rented it for $2,000, it's only $200 less, right? So everybody follow my math?
Yeah.
So by keeping it vacant for 3 months, you're going to lose $5,000. By renting it for $200 a month less than what you really want to, you're going to lose $2,400.
Yeah.
So I would say take a lower rent it out as quickly as you can, and in a year's time, increase the rents.
And the only other thing I'd add to that is quality of tenant, right? So the key thing for it is you don't demand top dollar, because your key thing is to get the best tenant and that's your key, right? So if it's a matter of you'll rent it right away to a great tenant at 2,000 versus 2,200, of course rent it at 2,000, right? So just add to that.
Thanks, Kim. I think that's critical. What I've seen happen is when you ask when you ask for a price that's above the going market, the only people who will pay it are those who can't afford it.
Yeah.
And so you're now picking an individual who, for whatever reason, is going to be a problem individual. They're not going to have a proper credit rating. They're not going to be able to give you references, but they go, it's okay, I'll make sure you get the payments. And then all of a sudden you start having problems because you've rented for a high price to a bad tenant. If they don't have references and they don't have a good credit rating, you shouldn't rent to them, period. And that's where we come in as agents to help make sure you get the right tenant.
Yeah, I think one of the worries is that with rent control on a lot of properties, people fear, well, I'm going to be stuck with this tenant forever. So I would choose, that's exactly what Avijit asked. So yes,
depends, Jeremy, depends. Any properties that were built after November 2018, I think it is, do not have controls on them. So if you have bought a condo that has been completed after November 2018, there are no rent controls.
Yeah. My feeling was going to be, if you own an investment property for 20 years, I've never heard anyone say to me, it was really bad because for 7 or 8 years, I had a tenant that stayed and paid every month, and it was $300 less than I wanted.
Yeah.
Take the money, take the low rent. For people who've owned properties for 20, 30 years, most of them end up renting for below market and are happy with their tenants. And that extra difference in the amount that they rent for means so little compared to the value that they've accumulated on the property over time. So I think keep it rented, get some income, and cross that bridge when you come to it.
And no aggravation, Jeremy. No aggravation, no problems, no issues.
Right. So I think those are the main questions. I think we trying to. I want to leave on this question. The elephant in the room is CMHC, which said that prices were going to go down between 9 and 18%. This is in contradiction to our franchisor Remax, who said prices are going to go up, I think, 8%. And TD had a similar question. They're looking at when the CERB is going to finish and when people's mortgage deferrals are going to be finished. All of a sudden, people are going to remember that they can't afford their house and they're going to put it on the market and it's going to tank the whole thing. Could they be right?
I mean, let me start out and then you can add on to here, Alex. So as Alex said in his market overview, right, prices are up 7% in May from last year's price, right? So it's completely, so his forecast is just completely out of step with the results that were just released today by the Toronto Real Estate Board. So nobody knows the future. But certainly that is an extreme view of the market, not supported by any of the major economic firms or economists in the marketplace. And in the Toronto area, again, you've got to look at this long-term situation, right? There are too few homes being constructed. And even right now, the immigrants are not coming in. Within a year, they are again, and we've got the exact same problem. So the market just does not support a sustained decrease like that for any length of time whatsoever. So that's my view on the CMHC thing. Alex, I don't know if you wanted to add a few words as well.
Well, everybody has an opinion and is entitled to their opinion. Garth, as we started off with this session, Garth has had an opinion for 20 years that the real estate bubble will burst. That hasn't happened yet, despite COVID. So as of today, he's still wrong. But that's an opinion. I don't know what's, honestly, I've been in real estate, 1972, is that like 50 years almost? 48 years, whoa. I don't feel that old. But what I do know is Toronto is in demand. I do know that properties have consistently gone up over the last 20 odd years by 6.6%, despite everything. And Toronto and people want to live in houses, love houses, want to bring up their families in houses. So we haven't seen that drop. Everything is contrary to his beliefs. It's a great long-term investment. So I know 5 years from now, we're all going to look back and go, why didn't I buy more? Because, 5 years ago, everybody said that. And 5 years before that, everybody said that. And, it's interesting when if we take a look at condominium prices, 10 years ago, it was $300 a square foot. Everybody says that's crazy. Then it went up to $500 a square foot, and that was crazy. And then it went up to $700 a square foot, and that was crazy. Well, a month ago, condos, and we're looking at the Galleria, which opened up at Dufferin and DuPont and sold out in a few hours, or 2 days actually, was selling for $1,200 a square foot. So we have always underpriced our own land, and people coming from out of the country have always appreciated our land. And we have a lot of foreign buyers. We have a lot of high net worth individuals coming here, and people continue to buy, and property will continue to increase because Canada will grow, population will grow, and the cost of building, the cost of construction, and everything else will continue to increase. So long term, I think real estate is the best value, the best return, and the best long-term investment.
Great. I'm going to give Chuck one more try to get on because he asked a few times before we finish. Chuck, you there?
Sure. Yeah, can you hear me, sir?
Chuck,
there you are.
Yeah,
okay.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
For you.
Yeah, sir, there was a little mistake because I had to actually transfer to another. Yeah. So thank you so much, Mr. Jeremy, Mr. Cam, and your name. Okay. I had a very small question was buying units under construction, pre-construction condos.
Pre-construction.
Now we have got about, let's say, 3 classes of developers. Okay, we got the class A, the class B, and the class C. So I would not know whether it goes by 100 million or number of units to get categorized under class A or B or whatever. Now, a lot of people are entering this business. So class C are trying to get into class B are trying to get into class A. Now, let's say if I have to be an investor, and I'm not looking at those big names, okay, Hallmark, Daniels, and Tridal, whatever, right? But I am an investor, okay, let's say a small-time investor. How will I choose the risk? As you know that some of the condos went into receivership recently in the last 2-3 years. You know that. So how do I choose which company or which to go? And one more thing, sir, is that some of the projects, some are new, some are under construction, some are almost sold. So this is my second question was, under this present COVID, whether the builders, the developers have given any rebate or benefit to the deposits which were due under the original contract. Whether they were due to be paid. Okay, so if you can give me that question one. Thanks very much.
I got it. I'll start.
Yeah.
I'll start with your last question.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're giving any rebates on deals that are already done, but maybe speak to a developer and see if they do that. I do know that most developers are giving incentives for people to act now because they're still trying to hit their same sales goals. They haven't reduced the prices, but they will do things like defer deposits so that you only have to pay your 15 or 20% over a 2-year period instead of a 1-year period, things like that. And there's some incentives in terms of capping levies and decreasing fees and things like that. So they're coming to the table a little bit. The question I would ask you on your first one is, the reputation of the developer is important. The type of project it is important. There is inherent risk with buying new. I wonder why you wouldn't go towards the most reputable, best developer you can find, in addition to finding the projects in areas that you think make sense and things. And the last thing I'll say is just, buy anything as long as you feel it's safe and it's going to close. But but it's difficult to determine. Why are you trying to stay away from the top brands?
No, there's also something regarding the time period to foreclose the contract. So what happens is that the title of the land doesn't really pass on. So at the time they just ask for 5%, but actually the title doesn't come to the developer. So what happens is that when you go to the financial institution, it's just like a comfort letter, which is actually not absolutely legal. So what happens is that, until you cross the 20% or 25% limit or the barrier, the buyer still remains at risk.
Yeah. So yes, there's a lot of risk. Let's say this, there's a lot of risk. In the best of times, the builder can cancel a deal. In the worst of times, a builder can go bankrupt. There is inherent risk with buying new from a developer. You have to look at the reason you're doing it. I don't want to get too into the weeds on all these details. I think is a lot to discuss, but for most people listening, we want to give him the idea that long-term real estate is a good investment. And whether you buy it pre-construction and look at it over a long period of time because you want to put less money down, or you look at it as something you can buy right now and rent out and earn income, there are good opportunities out there, but you have to do your research, and bringing along a RE/MAX Realtron professional is a good start for doing that. And on that note, I want to give Cam and Alex the final word, but I want to say thank you to the 200 and something people that are still on, and about 75, I think, that are watching on Facebook Live. So thank you so much for everyone for your questions, for tuning in. To Cam and Alex, it was great. Cam, last words?
For sure. So future real estate in the GTA is fantastic. The long term is great. Massive immigration, even though it's paused now for a minute. As Alex said, 150,000 people moving in, 30, 40,000 from other provinces, not enough homes being built. So it's fantastic. So we're in a bit of a pause situation with COVID. There's still a market. It is, fewer sales than before, but it is a good time still if you are wanting to buy or sell in the marketplace, but get the help of a professional realtor. The question about new construction, what you really need is a realtor to make sure you always test it against the resale market too, just to make sure it makes sense what you're buying for investment purposes. So big picture, great to be in the GTA, good value long-term for real estate. And thank you guys very much. Exciting. And I think we'll do this call probably again to help with some of your questions that may have been not answered today. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Cam. In the 48 odd years that I've been involved, prices, as Toronto has grown and people have moved in, honestly, the big mistakes I made over the years was selling. I have never made a mistake buying. And I would recommend the same. If you take a really long, buying is good, selling is bad. And I know sometimes you have to sell in order to buy. If you do it, as Cam said, in the same market, then you limit any risks. If you can afford a property, get into the market. Yes, there may be a slow downturn, but look at it this way. When the market gets hot, as it was, as we've seen in previous markets, you have 15, 20, 30 offers, and you end up paying a lot more money. Once you buy a property and move in, and you enjoy it with your family or enjoy it by yourself, you forget the month. You forget what you paid. The price only hurts once. But if you don't buy it, there's always that regret. Why didn't I do it? Why didn't I do it? And then you're always playing catch up. So, like I said, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But if you can afford today's prices and you can get a low mortgage rate, buy it, enjoy it, and down the road, you will always be happy you purchased. Thank you all. And Cam, I think it's a great idea. We should do this session again. Jeremy, thank you for hosting it. And thank you all.
Thank you. And Sam asked if the slides would be available. We will make them available on the Facebook with the meeting. We'll set that up in a couple hours. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I've learned a lot. I've had some interesting thoughts about it. We'll talk more later. And it's been great. It's been lots of fun. We're at the hour-and-a-half mark. We promised people would be off by now. So have a great rest of the day, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.